My role today is to introduce co-creation in what will be called Building Social Communities at the upcoming SAMA conference in Paris. Let me give you an example of what co-creation is. You are a strategic account manager, or a SAM, and typically you have one account in front of you, if it's a large enough account. The typical interaction will be with somebody in procurement, potentially somebody in supply chain. And the example I will deal with at that session is a medical equipment company that is selling syringes and other medical equipment to large hospital chains. Think in terms of Stanford Hospital, University of Michigan Hospital, Partners Healthcare in the Boston area. The starting position of the SAM is to negotiate contracts and sales with this group. You have a first circle of, we may call it co-creation, is typically very transactional. It's typically a tug of war where you make offers, you offer prices, people negotiate you down, there is an RFP, an RFQ. The first thing we will show you is how to loosen the tension here and think of this as a co-creation circle, something that allows you to break the raw transactional price, quantity, service-driven aspect of it. What you will see in this example is you will see how the SAM was able to extend beyond this first circle and start drawing in a second group of people. In the hospital, these people are called ID leaders, and ID stands for infectious disease. These are the people who worry about infections inside a hospital, which may come from syringes or may come from other medical equipment. And these people worry about what happens to patients. And then you have an equivalent called occupancy health leaders, who worry about the same issue as it pertains to the doctors and the nurses. What is happening in those large hospital chains is that increasingly they have acquired practices, and these people may have more or less safe practices and processes as it deals with security, deals with safety. So what the SAM was able to do is to initiate a second circle of co-creation by convincing the procurement and the supply chain people to go talk to those ID leaders and those occupancy health people, which required bringing other resources on the supplier side, like medical affairs and other people who deal with the actual epidemic, the actual propagation of some of those infections. That's a second circle of co-creation. The name of the game for the SAM was to go to procurement and offer to make these people into a star, take them to the second circle of co-creation. If you come to this session, we will also show you how the ID leaders started connecting with patients. Eventually, you want the patients to also be safe in their practices, and you also want the general practitioners, the doctors and the nurses, to become safe. So the role of occupancy health is to jump onto this third circle of co-creation with the general practitioners and the nurses, and for the ID leaders to take you to the patients. This third circle of co-creation requires bringing in a lot of new people here, and more specifically the product development people, the actual R&D function. So just as the ID leaders and the occupancy health people are bringing a third ring here, the SAM, and with the help of the medical affairs, is connecting the product development people to these folks. And in effect, what you have now is product development people working directly with patients and with practitioners and nurses in the development of the new product. If you come to this session, we'll show you how there's actually a fourth and a fifth ring here, running a little bit out of room on my board. The fourth ring is essentially around sustainability. The chief sustainability officer of the supplier starts mobilizing the chief sustainability officer and his or her staff at the hospital, and they start worrying about the actual disposal of the syringes and broadening further this notion of a cradle-to-grave responsibility for the syringe. Eventually, the fifth ring of Saturn is created here, which deals with the financial aspect. So now you have the chief financial officer who comes into play. Why? Because through these first four rings, the company is able to reduce the risk of infection so dramatically that the commercial insurer, which is essentially the company that insures the hospital for those risks, realizes that what you now have is a safer company, which allows new financial schemes to be created here. The CFO and the staff intervenes as well. And all of this brings a dramatic layer, another layer of business case and a further reduction in terms of the risk. Come to the SAMA meeting in March in Paris and you will have fun.